Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to thank you for coming. We're going to have this webinar to review our integration with checkbooks. We have Michael Schneider on the line from Checkbooks. He's going to go a few of these slides and review the process for e-checks, and then we will have a short demo of how to integrate this, how this is integrated with Renttropolis. Michael, you're
awesome. Yeah, glad to be here. This is Michael Schneider from Checkbook. What we're doing is really helping businesses, especially those in property management and real estate, to be able to help minimize the use and dependency on paper checks, especially as it relates to rent payment, and then also for paying vendors and contractors. I'll kind of walk you through these slides here, giving a brief overview of our company and how we help. So Checkbook, we've been in business a little over 5 years. Our founder, he was the chief security architect at Visa, and he came up with the solution to be able to really help minimize the use of paper checks. And what we've done is kind of come in here and provide a simple solution for both property managers for collecting rent and also for tenants to be able to pay rent. And some of the common problems with collecting rent, there's typically kind of 4 ways of doing this. There's paper checks, there's ACH, where you're getting the routing and account information from a tenant, and then credit cards are actually getting a pretty big surge recently, and then also wire transfers. I don't know many that are doing wire transfers, but it's definitely an option. Now, paper checks, they're pretty clunky. It's very laborsome for tenants to have to write paper checks consistently, especially nowadays. Most people aren't writing paper checks, so they have to order paper checks just for paying rent, and that's kind of a pain for them. And then each month they're having to write that, and they're having to come to you and give it to you. And then you're having to either mobile deposit or take to your, so it's a very cumbersome process. Traditional ACH, in terms of getting and collecting bank information from your client, is kind of prone to risk, just because of the sensitive information and tenants giving you bank information. So a lot of people have kind of opted out of that just because they don't want the risk of maybe that getting hacked or compromised, and then you're kind of out to dry as the person who's responsible for that. Credit cards are very nice for tenants. People love to pay with credit cards. The only problem is the fees. If you have a tenant pay with a credit card, you're going to have to pay that 3%. So you're effectively losing 3% of all of the rent because of the transaction fees. And then wire transfers, very, very costly, typically $15, $25 per transfer. And they're also very cumbersome in terms of actually setting up a wire transfer. So what we've done is we've really helped just kind of provide a simple solution for being able to send payments. And what we do is we kind of handle all of the collecting of bank information in the back end. And we kind of process that for you, enabling a very seamless experience for both parties. So when it comes to tenants, what are the benefits for tenants? Well, the tenants have to order checks. They don't have to send you checks each month, so it's very nice for them. They can easily just onboard a bank account very efficiently in under a minute. And then from then on, it's just a simple click of a button and they send you a payment. So instead of going through this process where maybe it takes 5-10 minutes, where they're creating that paper check for you and then trying to track you down or mailing it to you, now they just have this simple process where they're onboarding a bank account in under a minute. And then each month they're just clicking a simple button saying, hey, I want to pay this now. And then we handle the processing in the back end to make sure that the funds are sent to you. And then that gets to the benefits for property managers, the benefits for you. One is these funds are going to be transferred directly to your bank account. right? So you no longer have to worry about receiving checks. You no longer have to worry about doing bank runs where you're running to the bank and depositing these, or even mobile depositing each one. All of these will just go directly to your bank account. So it's very, very nice and very economic for you there. And then also reconciliation, being able to see in real time who's been paid, who's paid, who hasn't paid, et cetera, and being able to get real-time updates of who's actually paid the rent. And if we go to the cost savings here, there's also a lot of cost saving in terms of going digital and being able to receive payment via ACH, via direct deposit. So here we have numbers. Typically, the standard cost per received check is $4. So here we have a little graph where you're able to see the average number of checks. Let's assume you're receiving 100 checks per month for rent, right? So with Renttropolis and Checkbook, the cost is going to be $1.50 per ACH, per direct deposit transaction. So that total cost monthly is $150, $1,800 versus the paper check. That cost is $4, and that cost is mainly for your time and your support, being able to handle and process the paper check and calling up the tenant, trying to get them to actually send you the check. It was lost in the mail. Now you have to spend time there. You also have to spend time going to the bank. All that stuff kind of factors into it to get you to where that $4 is. So you'll see if you're sending around 100, well, if you're receiving about 100 checks per month, you're saving about $3,000 per year by doing ACH over paper checks. I know a common question that we have when it comes to payments online, people are always interested in what our security is. So here you can see that we have our SOC 1 and our SOC 2 certification. And basically that's the highest certification that you can have as somebody who facilitates payments. So this is the same certification like companies like Amazon have, companies like Best Buy and Walmart, companies that are collecting private information and ensuring its security and its protection for both parties. So we've passed that with flying colors. As I mentioned in the beginning, the founder of our company, he was the chief security architect at Visa. So he helped spearhead and build the security protocol at Visa. So he has a very, very high industry knowledge and expertise when it comes to security. So he used those same principles and same guidelines here in developing the solution to make it as practical and secure as possible for businesses and individuals. So here it's just additional information on our security. We're not passing bank information. We're doing KYC, know your customer on both sides. The fraud is minimal. Our fraud is actually way less than paper checks or normal ACH or really any form of payment. And we're following all the necessary protocols when it comes to guidelines and regulations. And what we're also doing is working on future upgrades with Renttropolis to be able to provide an even more seamless experience. One of the things that we'll be rolling out is an auto pay feature so that tenants can basically put everything on a subscription or an auto pay so that every month it's automatically being drawn from their bank account. Of course, this is something that they would have to approve and agree with, but this provides a consistent stream of collections for you as opposed to them doing it every month and maybe some months they're later. With the auto pay, you pick a date when rent is due and then it'll automatically be received to you on that date. Also being able to do scheduled payments. Some people, it's difficult for them to be able to say pay rent right now based on when they get their paycheck, etc. So being able to allow the tenant to be able to pick a date at which they can make a payment. So maybe today's the 29th and they can't pay now because their paycheck is coming tomorrow. So they schedule a payment for the 30th or the 31st to make sure that there's not a return or an insufficient funds. And then also another thing that will be rolled out is vendor payments here for you to be able to pay contractors and vendors. So just by having a vendor or contractor email address, you'll be able to send them a digital check through email, allowing them to be able to receive funds without you having to mail and send via USPS checks for vendor payments. So those are three of the features that we'll be soon releasing with Renttropolis for you to be able to have an even more seamless and more advantageous solution for rent collection. And at this point, I'll pass it to Bob, and Bob here, he'll walk through a more visual presentation demo of Renttropolis and how it would work.
Michael, thank you very much. Very informative. What I'll do now is I will go ahead and walk through the setup for the Renttropolis application. We made this extremely seamless and easy to do and very flexible. So what we allow you to do is you can set up bank accounts for specific properties. You can have, you have a number of LLCs. You can have either all of your properties under one account, or if you have multiple accounts, you can break those apart. So the first thing you'll need to do is you set up your properties and you add your bank accounts to each one of your properties. And we have a new payment method right underneath here, which is checkbooks. So if you click on that, you'll see two options. You have an instant authentication and a micro deposit. The instant authentication allows you to set up your bank account right now, and this is what Michael was talking about having your bank, your account set up within a minute. What you can do is click on the instant authentication. You'll select your financial institute from here. You can go ahead and search if you need to, and you'll type in your username and password for your bank account. We don't store this on our servers anywhere. We only use it for authentication with your bank directly at this time. Once you enter in your username and password, as some banks do require additional authentication. They might send you a text message with a code. They might ask you specific security questions that you entered that you have with your bank to set up your bank account. If you do your micro deposit, what this will do is you enter in your routing number and your account number, and checkbooks will deposit two small deposits into your account. Within a day or two, you'll see those deposits. You'll come back into Renttropolis. The screen will ask you for what the amounts of those deposits were, and that way you can verify your micro deposit or your bank account that way. Your tenants have the same ability to do both the instant authentication or the micro deposit. I'll show you that in a minute. Once you have your bank account set up, what you'll see is your that bank that you set up right here. So once it's confirmed and everything is set up, you'll see your checking account and then the last four of that number here. This is where you'll also be able to if you want to charge the $1.50 fee to your tenants, you can go ahead and click on this, and that'll go ahead and add that extra $1.50 to their transaction when they process their rent payments. Once you have all of your accounts in, and you can select these accounts under other properties. So once you have one account set up, and if you want to add all your properties under one account, you can just select existing account, and you select that from the list of your accounts, and that'll link this property to that account also. Once you have all your accounts set up, you'll need to add your tenants, give them the ability to log in and pay via checkbooks. And to do that, you'll go into your leases, and you'll see a new option here that says checkbooks for electronic payment options. You can go ahead and check this. This will show the checkbook option when the tenant logs in to pay their rent. If your tenants don't currently have a login, you'll need to invite your tenants into the system, and you do that under your invites. You can just click Tenants, and then you can click on New Invite, and this will show all of your tenants that currently do not have a login. You just go ahead and click Select, Save. We'll go ahead and send them an email with a username and password and allow them to log into the system. So once you've got your account set up, you have your tenants logged in, the next step is for them to set up their account, and we'll go ahead and just show you that. So your tenants will log in. If I log in under tenants, sorry about that. So when your tenant logs in, they'll have this add account option, and it's similar to your add account. You'll just do either the instant authentication. They can select their bank, or they can do the micro deposit. Once they have set up their bank account, they'll be able to use this pay rent option here. Go ahead and add just click on that, and they can make the payment. It defaults to the current amount that they owe. You can, they can always change that to something less or something more. They can give you a memo if they wanted to. And then they'll just click on the submit payment here. So this will go through. It'll verify and push the account to checkbooks. And it will also log the payment within Renttropolis. So instantly they'll be able to see that payment is right here under their account. That payment's also been logged under your account as a payment, and you see that their amount due has been decreased. And so, Michael, did you want to just speak briefly about the time frame for the money to be transferred into their account?
Yeah, so what we do is, this is standard ACH processing. And standard ACH processing is going to be 3 business days, with the funds arriving on the 4th business day. Now, after successful transactions, we can minimize that risk and start processing funds quicker, say in 2 business days. But that would be kind of us figuring out the risk profile of the tenant for being able to update that and allow you to be able to receive funds quicker than the more traditional option of the 3 to 4 business days.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all we have for today. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send me an email at robert@renttropolis.com. You guys all have my email address. Or you can feel free to give me a call after this meeting. I'd like to thank Michael for taking the time to show us the interface and speak about checkbooks. And thank you, everyone. Have a good night.